Can we look into the specific elements of the finance bill that people don't like? So I can read some of them and then we discuss them. So bread, 16% VAT proposed, at least 10 shillings rise. And this is as per Business Daily. And then we have mobile money, excess duty on cash transfer to rise to 20% from 15%. So more money to send and receive money. Alcohol, a liter of whiskey to go up from 267.32 to 592 to 720. Basically, double or triple the cost.
That's just the tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lakini pombe, msiguze pombe bwana. Vehicles, new 2.5% tax on car value. So you're looking at between 5,000 to 100,000 shillings.
But from last that I've seen is that they were actually thinking of revising this one.
Probably.
Like scraping it or something.
We'll see tomorrow.
We'll
see
We'll
that
see.
document.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so for context, today is Monday.
Yeah.
Which date is today? Monday, 17th.
Yeah.
That we're discussing this. A lot of things are going to change tomorrow on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You're going to see this on Sunday.
Yeah.
So in case we'll do an update next recording.
Yeah.
Then bank fees, tax on money transfers to increase to 20% from 15%. Cigarettes, put all the tax here. Excess duty on unfiltered stick to rise to 4 shillings from 2.96. Wait. Okay, here's the bottom up. Anyway, so in short, there's tax on bread, tax on cancer treatment.
Yeah. That's never been
what's
there.
That? What's that? Ebu, give me the specific on tax on cancer treatment.
They want never had tax. They want to
yeah.
put it at 16%.
No, it's not cancer treatment. I think the machines or something.
Hospitals and specialized.
But it's the same thing.
The machines and the equipment they use.
But it's the same thing.
Okay.
So if you tax the equipment that I use, of course the cost is going to
automatically
pass
trickles
to me.
down. Yeah.
I have a problem with how media people
How it
try.
is
You know, they're very.
You
So
try
it's
to arouse the
tax on
emotions.
some of the equipment that goes behind cancer treatment.
Yes, and even
Guys.
sanitary pads. They want
Okay.
to put.
So
And
let me mention. We could go back to the original document.
Just anything that is used in the private sector hospital areas.
What are you looking at?
Yeah,
Bread.
so whether it's cancer or any
Bread.
disease.
Bread is VAT, and VAT is a tax head. It's a tax on consumption, and what happens is everything should be vatable from how you read the VAT Act. However, from how the reading of the VAT Act is almost like technically anything is vatable, but we have things that are zero rated and other things that are exempt. So if you're zero rated and exempt, you won't be vatable. But if you do not appear in the specific items that are zero rated and the specific items that are exempt, you automatically. So bread was among the items that was appearing in the first schedule of the VAT Act as exempt. So the moment you remove bread, it becomes automatically, you say we are removing bread from the first schedule of the VAT Act. What this means is that now VAT will become vatable. The proposal is there, but I had the president saying there's a recommendation to remove that.
Yeah.
So hopefully...
as late as today.
I think earlier on, there were the president more so like, I had discussions that the VAT on bread will be removed. Mobile money, 2023, the excise duty was actually 20%. So they reduced it in 2023 to 15%, but now recommending taking it up to 20%, technically back to original place. Alcohol, excise.
But why? Because they need more money.
Yeah, I'll speak into that. Motor vehicle tax.
Why have you skipped alcohol?
Alcohol.
I feel like the rest of this episode we should talk about.
Okay, let me speak about alcohol.
Is already being heavy.
Let me speak about alcohol and the problem with taxing alcohol. Taxing alcohol, there is a specific issue, a social issue. Yeah, changa and whatnot, people getting blind. So if you make alcohol extremely expensive and unattainable, people will still drink and they'll drink. They'll drink now in the dens, and it will have a serious hazard. So I won't speak into that much.
No, let's speak into it.
So
It's a matter of national
Myself I'm at total as well.
Umekuza road the most.
Kwanza hapo kwa whisky imenipinch.
Yeah, that one is the one
Whiskey is
that
being taxed specifically.
I know. Motor vehicle tax. Motor vehicle tax, I have a serious
Tanza
problem.
kuchangia quota sahi. Kila mseta umoja tu by quota.
it's true.
That is madness.
It's true.
Motor vehicle tax, one thing and I spoke into this. I actually wrote an article in the newspaper, motor vehicle tax, and one of the questions is motor vehicle tax. It's an amendment to the Income Tax Act. Is it an income to have a motor vehicle?
Honestly.
It's
a liability.
You spend money to maintain the vehicle.
So how you gonna...
The income tax is very specific.
Yeah.
Gain. You
Yes.
tax gain. You
Yeah.
sell land, there's capital gains. You sell property, there's you sell like nini, there's income tax. You sell your produce or your stock and whatnot. You
make
have to
money.
file returns on that gain, and we have some gains that are exempt and whatnot. But now gains should be taxable. Me having a motor vehicle and introducing this amendment to the Income Tax Act, what I think is that anyone can actually walk into court and challenge it and on the constitutionality of that provision, because it's an amendment to the income tax and it's not a tax.
Income.
Now let's speak into the taxes on motor vehicles. We have import duty. Ilikuwa 25%, ikapelekwa 35%.
10%. Increased by 10%.
10%. Now technically,
50%
if you're importing a car, the import duty is 35%. So you import mutumba. So you import like second-hand cars, right? So when the moment you import a car,
Yes, call gari mtumba.
Simple gari mtumba.
New shape inakwanga 8 years old.
Thank you. Now speaking into 8 years old, hizo gari ukizimport value, hiyo gari inakuanga valued on a depreciation mode.
Yes.
So inakuanga 70% of the value of a car. There's a specific value they give.
Yeah.
And they reduce that value. So technically a car that has depreciated for 7 years, in a calculated depreciation at 65%. So by reducing the depreciation value, hiyo gari itapanda bei.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I get you.
They did that last year. So technically, gari ya 7 years inapigwa depreciation ya 65%, not 70%. So already hiyo 5% is already another yenye ita increase the value of the car in top of the import duty, right? So I've spoken about the import duty and the depreciation, right?
Yeah.
And then you charge an excise duty. I don't know, I think it should be 20%. Excise duty 20% on that value of the car.
Yeah.
So what you do, you import a car, let's say gari ni 1 million, utachapa import duty ya 35%, itakuwa 1350, and then your 1350 uichape 20%. And then your 20% uiongeze on that 1350, uichape 16% VAT.
Yeah.
And then there's a import declaration fee, declaration something is due 2%, and then sijui kuna railway development something.
I never
So
understand
many
that.
taxes. Railway development levy is technically ni SGR, sasa sustaining SGR. Hiyo
Just
ndio
because I
railway.
bought a car now, I have to pay. Hata ita-
What is the correlation?
all imports lazima all
if
imports
I'm-
iko na
if I'm
hiyo
importing
RDL.
phones. Okay.
So at the point of now you like importing a car, you've paid probably 80% of the value of the car in taxes, as taxes and levies and whatnot. Go to fuel consumption. At fuel consumption, there's a list of taxes, excise tax, road development levy, nini that you pay. Now they are also associated with the environmental externalities. Zinaitwa environmental, like technically using the car, kuna congestion na nini. So you have like to pay the taxes because you use the road and whatnot. No. So the justification, because there are some documents that on the rundown down to the motor vehicle tax, we have some documents that have been trying to justify the motor vehicle tax over time. We have the medium-term revenue strategy, yenye ilikuwa published last year, speaking into taxation, introducing a motor vehicle tax because of the environmental externalities, negative environmental externalities, pollution and whatnot, and congestion and whatnot. We have the something green fiscal incentives policy, spoke into that. We have the action climate something NCAP, the National Climate Action Plan, spoke into bringing a motor vehicle tax and something called our nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement. All these documents have been speaking. All these documents have been speaking in introducing a motor vehicle tax, right? However, the introduction of the motor vehicle tax does not in any way from now my own analysis, does not now deal with the environmental issues that are associated. Because at the same time, if at all you want to tax fossil fuels and whatnot, we have immobility. Why should electric vehicles suffer the same taxes that any other cars are suffering? Why now have you introduced taxes on electric buses? Electric buses, by the way, they were exempt. They were zero rated, now they're exempt. There should be a tax on that. I'll explain the difference between something when something is zero rated and when something is exempt. But now what you see is that there's what the government speaks into what is on paper vis-a-vis what is on the ground. The motor vehicle tax looks more so like a revenue mobilization approach than even a climate when you wanajaribu kuromanticize it's a climate initiative. But when you look at it now, you analyze it closely, you see it's more so a revenue mobilization initiative. And I think these are most of the suggestions and zinatoka IMF and whatnot, courtesy of our loans. Bank fees hii ndio itatuuma. Let me speak. Let me speak into this. Nimeongea about VAT Act. VAT Act, the first schedule inaongelea ukiona kitu iko listed in the first schedule of the VAT Act means this thing is exempt. So insurance services and bank transactions are exempt. And what?
Wait, can we clarify exempt and zero? So that we know and zero.
Okay, so zero rated means this thing is chargeable at VAT, but it's chargeable at 0%. Exempt means these things is not.
Like it's not taxed.
I'll explain the difference.
It's exempted.
Hold on. So,
man, I'm so dumb.
I'm going deeper. I'll go deeper.
But you know, even as explaining and going through this,
I know.
I'm like, I might need to listen to this 4 times to understand.
I'm going 0% of your brain.
My guy. Now your brain is exempt.
So is my brain exempt or related?
Exempt.
I'll explain the difference between. I'll explain.
Mjinga, my friend.
You'll have to rewatch this episode.
So,
okay, let's go.
This is it.
All my brain cells assemble.
This is it. VAT is a tax on consumption. So let me take this phone and this. Let me take this phone, okay. Right? This phone, at the point of manufacture, the manufacturer will probably buy some items, procure some services, and at the point of procuring these services, they will charge VAT.
Yeah.
Once they charge VAT, this thing, if it's transferred to the distributor, itakuwa transferred ikiwa na VAT. So atamuuzia e-phone lakini ataweka VAT at 16%. And then huyu mtu akiuzia now the end consumer will pay VAT on the VAT. Hold on. So what happens is, kwa VAT there is input VAT and output VAT. Okay. So what determines what a distributor pays is the VAT that this person collected at the point of selling minus the VAT that this person paid at the point of manufacturing ama procuring this item. So that balance ndio inalipangwa kama VAT by the consumer. But this is a tax that is transferred to the end consumer. That's why it's called a consumption tax. VAT is always a consumption tax. So when something is exempt, if I sell this phone, I will not claim input VAT if something is exempt. Okay. Kwa sababu it's exempt. So I won't charge VAT. But when something is zero rated, I will charge the VAT at 0%, allowing me to claim the input VAT. So so you get it. So there's a difference now between something exempt and something zero rated. So when you take something from exempt, when you take something from zero rated and you make it exempt, what means is that this cost, because I as the person selling, I'm not allowed to claim input VAT, I will eventually transfer this cost to the consumer. So this thing will actually be expensive. But if something is zero rated, I will actually not transfer this cost to the consumer because I will claim it as tax paid already. Yeah. You get it? So that's now the difference between zero rated.
My question is, this thing for claiming, to me just sounds like a scheme to make money. Because I don't know if everyone will claim. why do I need to pay for it to claim it back? So just let me not pay for it.
So
to begin with.
Or you collect it at the end.
Yeah, like Sasa, like okay, listen, you pay for it now, but you can file later, maybe at the end of the year, and claim it back. Why? So just let me buy without claiming. Admin work ndo mnanilipa kwenda Mombasa. So if you go do this admin work of claiming.
So and one of the good proposals in the finance bill ni VAT threshold ilikuwa 5 million, sasa imepelekwa to 8 million.
What does that mean?
Technically, if you're doing business and you're in the business of selling services, selling products and whatnot, and in a year you have a total turnover for a period of 12 months, your total turnover is your total sales. Your total turnover is equivalent to 5 million. You should register for VAT. And the moment you register for VAT, you can claim input visa. Ndio maana mama mboga hata kucharge VAT. Unaona? But now for these businesses that are establishing and businesses that are actually their total sales in a year ziko beyond 5 million, you are supposed to register for VAT to allow you to claim input and output. The thing is that since it's a consumption tax, the manufacturer should not suffer. That's the difference between VAT and excise, because excise is more so like a tax in it's imposed on the manufacturer and evil, unaona. But VAT, it's a tax that only the consumer should suffer, not the manufacturer. So what the producer actually suffers need the administrative costs of filing na nini.
Is this the tax layering VAT is the last boss?
So yeah,
when I'm picking something at the supermarket, that's the last
VAT is the last tax.
Yeah, and is it compounded on all the other taxes? Like if something
it's compounded. Okay. It's compounded. Ukiona kitu iko na excise itawekwa VAT bado. Automatic. So kama pombe utaweka excise na VAT. I was speaking on financial services. Financial services tumekwambia excise ilikuwa 15% ikaenda 20 na nini, and that has been there because financial services excise duty iko. But now we have VAT, which bado they are proposing to charge VAT on financial services and insurance. What will happen ni cost ya acquiring loans, cost ya acquiring insurance, cost ya bank transfers, and whatnot will become so expensive, and it will actually go into now the cash flow ya watu. That's a serious issue. Mnaongea motor vehicle tax, my biggest problem is the
how bad is
VAT,
it if, for
VAT
example,
on financial services.
X amount of money was 50 bob. How, with this new law, how would you project that 50 bob would go to?
I wouldn't be in a position to like do the maths, but put 16% on that cost of transaction.
Wow! So the more money
you send,
yes,
the higher the amount, the more you pay for.
The more you pay for it. Yeah.
So size is like I owe you 50K. I'll send it across 1 week.
But
see,
someone on Twitter actually.
The thing is that they are not charging on the money. They are charging on the money transfer services.
Yeah.
Like
I know, but the more if I'm transferring a high amount, if I'm paying
16%
as opposed to 500 bob for the next 30 days. So I'll send you 500 bob every day.
You didn't see that guy on Twitter who said, but like to me, I'm saying 100K. You buy a SIM card, you register it on M-PESA, you load the money, you send it to them. In a phone day with
But remember withdraw kuna financial services.
Unajua hata kama bado nikitumia 100K nitakatwa transaction na ukiwithdraw utakatwa.
But it's cheaper to withdraw, I'm assuming.
I
don't know.
Maybe when it's in your phone you can use it digitally. But still.
So this 16%, did someone just come up with the figure at 16? What led why is it 16% and not 20?
How do they do the valuing of let's add this by this percent?
Actually, Kenya, we are better off when you look at our neighboring countries. And there was that discussion and it will actually come.
But in your neighbors to can we focus on ourselves?
Yeah,
the SGR works. And it's electric.
Yes, here ni tax optimization tuliongea. Sasa, Uganda VAT ni 18%. I think Tanzania is 18. So there was actually we are trying to unify our ESC union and harmonizing our tax.
Let's go.
So they were seeking, actually there was a discussion. I don't know where it went, but they were seeking to have a VAT go up to 18%.
We're such different economies. We are such, like the cost of, the cost of basic needs in Uganda is way low as compared to Kenya. Talk about even food.
Those guys have food on a crazy supply.
So for you,
So when you compare Kenyan
Uganda, the economies are very different. Honestly, the women in Uganda are very pretty.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I'm just saying.
I drove to TZ nikapeana 10k nikapewa I think nilipewa around 400 I think 300 I was bowling. Yani nilikuwa tu
economies are very different. So wait, so how did they come up with the 16%?
Yeah, like how did they do the valuing?
So we have 3 rates. We have something that is partially rated, and then we have 0 rated, and then we have standard rated. Standard rated is 16%.
Why not 17%?
I don't know. Okay. Those are government policies and whatnot. Ni kama kuuliza why is income tax at 30%? They were proposing it to reduce 25%. Those are more so like fiscal policies or fiscal. And then we have standard rated. Nakumbuka kuna wakati mafuta ilikuwa 18%. Ilikuwa 8%. Actually the last mafuta ilikuwa 8% VAT. The reason mafuta ilipanda sana it went to 16% and actually last year ndio mafuta ilienda 16%. Gas is 0 rated. I don't know, gas LPG is 0 rated kwa sababu ya cooking and what not. So those are mostly like government interventions.
Now let's talk about the one that I feel like they should tax everything into this one thing. The last one hapo.
Cigarettes.
Yeah. Why are you smoking? Why are you smoking cigarettes? I feel like to have vape.
Why are they taxing me? That's flavored oxygen. Don't do that.
So excise nimeongelelea. Initially excise and the problem with excise duty. Initially excise was meant to be a luxury tax. Tax on alcohol, tax on cigarettes.
Alcohol is luxury.
It is.
Niliona ule mjamaa mental health.
Need, but it's not luxury.
It's a luxury.
They put it for the nice ones.
Honestly, if you're being honest, alcohol nowadays, alcohol is part of groceries.
It's a basic need.
It's part of groceries.
It's a basic need.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can survive.
Yeah, like alcohol and groceries hand in hand. Same budget.
Supermarket at 3 mayai na quarter.
I know.
One of you is coming home with me. One of you is coming home with me tonight.
And we know it's the quarter.
Like mayai kuna cholesterol.
True.
What the fuck? Anyway. Unaweka tu vitimbi na watch.
Do you really want
Mama Kayai.
Do you really want to reduce the tax on cigarettes? Tax.
Tax, yes way.
Yo, me
cigarettes 156%.
Bro,
but do you know what?
Cigarette smokers don't give a fuck. Mmewachorea coffins,
maana
lungs, dead
tunasema.
people, mmeonyesha watu wakiongea hivi kwa hivi. And this guy is like
honestly,
Do you for shida ni lakini unajua pia vape ni nicotine products. Na wasemangi ati cigarettes na nini.
vape ndio unaona tax your times 4.
Wacha wa tax.
I feel like vapes buddies need vapes. So we protect the buddies. So vapes no, cigarettes absolutely.
Hallelujah.
No, wamepandisha bei ya cables za type C.
Why? You're a hater,
all the vape guys wana cable type C. So now everyone has like type C. Ingine mbaya I'll just pick on like heading tax on diapers. Surely.
Tax on diapers. Wanaita eco levy. Hiyo eco levy is actually one of the newest taxes that are introducing na zinaletwa kwa it's not a tax, it's a levy.
What's the difference?
So taxes are uniform. Income tax, uniform. Motor vehicle tax, unaelewa? Levies, they are if you use this specific product, you pay. Assuming importation levy. If you import, unaelewa?
Like, because not everyone imports.
If I import a car, I pay levy.
You pay the levy.
If I buy it locally, I don't pay levy.
So taxes from now, what the government has been doing, and from kuna an act called Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act, something like that. And hiyo ndio inaimposing a lot of these levies, the import declaration levy, the railway development levy, including the eco levy is an amendment to that act. Now, what the eco levy, technically they're speaking about taxes that have negative environmental implications. So utapata vitu kama car batteries, eco levy, na wanaiweka per kg, sijui 150 per kg. Diapers, eco levy.
But diapers, wasn't it in his manifesto where he was saying diapers are gonna be free?
He's a liar.
No, I'm just saying.
It's okay, I remember a video of him saying diapers are free.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and you will just
you know
sometimes we question them. sometimes we question the wisdom behind these taxes. Kwa sababu this thing is prepared by the treasury, and we know the IMF sits there. And when IMF is assisting you with your fiscal policies, ama with your fiscal interventions, you have to know that some of unaona kama subsidies on fuel. You remember during the Kenyatta government, we have serious subsidies on fuel. IMF ilisema zitolewe because generally they were unsustainable, and I agree because how can you have
you can't operate on
a subsidy on consumer?
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. You can have subsidies on things that fertilizer that have a multiply effect. The multiply effect that we're speaking about, but subsidies on consumption don't make sense. We had that, and we walikuwa nasema IMF says that these taxes subsidies have to be removed. Ukona power ikapanda because the moment you remove taxes, subsidies were on energy, see fuel. The moment you remove those subsidies, itapanda. And then there was a subsidy on there was the 8% VAT tukaona imeongezeka. Those are more so you showing now the government actually proving that it is able to collect enough money to cater for the needs, the specific loans that we keep on borrowing. So you have to show that, as a matter of fact, you are a going concern. And how do you do that? By increasing taxes and having more revenue, because the taxes that we have do not even cover for our internal expenses. So if you have to borrow, you have to show that you can collect more. And how do you show that? By increasing the taxes gradually, or seeking to increase the tax base. For an there's optimal utilization. Now, let's speak about optimal tax collection. From now, maybe the economic discussions and whatnot, a country should collect at least 25% of its GDP. Now, Kenya is collecting, I think, less by 11%. So we are collecting around 14%. Now, when you're collecting 14%, if at all you want to collect more, there are two approaches: increase taxes or increase the tax base. By increasing the tax base means you increase a lot of economic activities such that there's a lot of business that una tax kidogo and you collect that. You get it? Alternatively, tax more on various specific heads, and this is the approach now the government is taking. So that's a...
Because my issue is, bro, like genuinely speaking, right? Like if there's need to collect more money, absolutely, but let's find efficiencies. One, completely don't touch basic needs. Because now I'm going to spend so much for me to just exist. At some point, I don't have any money to tax. You know, if you make business easy for me,
at least
I
there's
know
more for you to take.
Roads are working, so moving products from point A to point A is B, people are more productive. I've reduced electricity costs, so factories can run on a cheaper... So goods produce more, but also goods are cheaper. True. So I have more
to make that you can
tax. I've curbed things like corruption. So money is actually
there's a flow of money.
Yeah. So when money is allocated for something, what you're saying, it actually goes towards that thing. So healthcare is cheaper. Again, we have good infrastructure. Education is cheaper. I'm just saying available and cheaper. So if healthcare is available and cheaper, I'm spending less money on my aging parents or my relatives in hospitals all the time. So my frustration is the embezzlement of money that happens when public money is collected. So if you're misappropriation of funds, that's a problem. If you're collecting money to fly private jets, buy apartments in London, take kids to expensive schools, buy helicopters, fucking
DMs where you can have meetings in the city.
Build a mall every corner of this country. There's just a fucking mall coming up. If that's where my money is going, then I have a big problem with that.
I agree.
Where's the accountability?
I agree with you. Corruption is endemic at now, right? At this point, and I had that discussion with some people. Now the discussion on the streets, do you know, people like serious professionals and whatnot, they're even embarrassed to like even walk into the streets because people lacking credibility and corrupt people are calling you fools, like nisi wajanja wa streets. Because you have a few connections here and you've made a few billions, and you consider yourself smart to an extent of actually vying for to become a member. Technically, we have like degenerated in our inaitwa nini ile social inaitwa frame ile
social frame.
Ile our social fabric, our social fabric is our fabric is so corrupted to the point now that corruption is actually glorified. And you find that people who are actually corrupt get more praise in the streets, and in other jurisdictions or jurisdictions that are seeking development or already advanced jurisdictions, corruption is frowned upon. Actually, not corruption, not paying your taxes is a serious, you become a social pariah. Unaona kama US, before you even vie for president,
that's the first thing
Trump actually came and
IRS,
dealt with that. But you have to maybe show your returns and whatnot. But now from where we sit is you can evade taxes, you can be corrupt, you can do a lot of issues. You can technically, and it's okay. And that's a serious problem, because we'll have leaders who are corrupt. We'll have will technically be led by a corrupt entity, and everything will be wrong.
True. But on top of that, when Chucks was saying, when you have the basics, and my issue is this thing of the sanitary pads. Because right now, even in 2024, we're having conversations of where there's still girls who cannot not only afford, but access sanitary towels. So when you're putting a tax on that, how is that even supposed to work?
Definitely a man.
I'm also questioning because I'm questioning the wisdom around tax on diapers, tax on cooking oil, tax on pads, and I'm questioning the wisdom because taxation is meant to sort your immediate needs. The government is collecting money
they can use it to benefit you.
Use it to benefit or sort out some problems, social problems, infrastructure problems, and whatnot. So one of the approaches around it is, rather than collect taxes and then sort this problem, why don't you exempt these specific items from taxes so that it can be affordable? And now this is now the taxes on the eco levy. I have the items that they have listed there. Some of them make sense, but some of them to me don't make sense.
Which ones make sense?
Are there positives? Yeah. What are the nice
the whole
things?
Finance bill. I haven't had anything nice from it.
Employees are benefiting. Retirement benefits. Initially, retirement, I'm in a retirement scheme. Technically, I'm in a pension scheme, right? And initially, unless you attained the age of 65, above 65, that's when your retirement, whatever you get from the schemes is exempt. Under the current laws. Before then, under the current laws is you have to be 65 and over for you to get exemptions on the. This is how employment. If I save money to a scheme, 20% is exempt. Not 20%, 20,000 per month is exempt from taxes.
Oh wow!
So if every month I save 20K and I pay it to a specific scheme, that money is allowable for deduction. So technically, it will be deducted, and then the remaining balance will be subjected to tax. So they are suggesting to increase it to 30%, and I add that in the budget statement to not to 30%, to 30,000. So technically, you can save 360,000 a year, which is not taxable. And at the end of the day, if you collect that money under the current laws, if you collect that money upon attaining the age of 65, that money is not taxable. But now the problem with that specific law as it is now is that the Kenya age life expectancy is 62 ama sijui 60 nini. It's below so technically uta collect your pesa alafu 2 years you die. Ama probably you die as you're collecting it. So they are suggesting to, if you save for 20 years, you can collect it tax free. And what will happen is we'll have a lot of people retiring at 40, 50. Okay. If you have worked for you retire, you have a lump sum that probably you can set up a company, or you can do other things. That's a good proposal. VAT is also a good proposal, because the cost of VAT unajua is filed monthly. So someone who's trading 5 million in a year, 5 million in a year is very, that threshold is low. So increasing it to 8 million is also a good, because now it lowers administrative costs as small businesses.
Over 26. This is the
Brunch Club.
Over 26. Welcome back to
The mics are closed.